Right about now on Sportscenter, NFL playoffs, lighten it up, Rams Vikes, shootout. Heck, they scored 86 points together while the Titans and Colts battle down to the wire.
For this time, it's final and forever.
JJ takes his seat for good, and will sit down with the man who is taking over. Hughes looks to remain the only D1 unbeaten while the Huskies try to avoid a red storm. Zoe throwing a block party in Vancouver while elbows flying in Tallahassee. Battle of Nations Capitals. Our nations and their nations, eh? And the Zinger looks to capitalize for the first time since '93. Yo, kid, we got it on SportsCenter next.
Hi there, welcome to SportsCenter with Stuart Scott. I'm Dan Patrick.
Coming up on this show, emotions that run the gamut. Jimmy out, Dave in. Zinger could get his first title since beating cancer. You're not going to believe who scored 50 in an NBA game. And two teams both hosting their first ever playoff games.
Let's begin in Indianapolis, shall we? One storybook season would write its final chapter Sunday when the Colts hosted the Titans. Indianapolis turned in the biggest one-season turnaround in NFL history, going from 3-13 to 13-3. Tennessee, which needed some last-second heroics last week against the Bills, looked for an encore performance to the Music City Miracle at the RCA Dome. Peyton Manning, his second year in the pros, his first playoff game. Under 30 seconds to go, tied at 6. Manning, Marcus Pollard, a short gain and a first down. Manning then looking like he will spike the ball to kill the clock, fakes it, and he faked out everybody, including his own teammates and even the officials. The officials confer and admit the whistle was inadvertent. Jim Mora, who was 0 for 4 in postseason play coming in, not amused. His team settled for a field goal, led 9-6. Second half, whole different story because of this guy. Eddie George, longest touchdown run since his rookie season, and he is gone. 68 yards, 13-9 Titans. Fourth quarter, 16-9. Terrence Wilkins is waiting. Looks harmless at the beginning, and then it gets dangerous. The tightrope down the line. After an 87-yard return, knocked out of bounds by Donald Mitchell, the Titans coach Jeff Fisher had a pretty good viewpoint. He wants a replay. The replay shows Wilkins stepped out of bounds at the Colts' 34-yard line, negating the run. Referees reverse the call. Jim Mora's Colts lose a golden opportunity. On the ensuing Colts possession, 3rd and 22, it's Manning for a wide-open Marvin Harrison. Marvin had 5 catches. This wasn't one of the 5. Colts forced a punt. After a Titans field goal made it 19-9, Colts a 4th and 4. Manning to Edgerrin James, the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, at a game he'd like to forget. Colts turn the ball over on downs. Titans try to run out the clock. Eddie George, the go-to guy in the second half. They went to him one too many times. He fumbles the ball. Indianapolis with a little more than 3 minutes to go, down 10, still in the game. Peyton Manning takes over, looking for Jerome Pathon first down. Manning, 19 of 43, finds Terrence Wilkins. Steve McNair worried, thinking the Titans' lead might be insurmountable. Maybe not, because Manning, 2 plays later, goes in, and it's 19-16. Eddie George, the costly fumble, saying, let's get the onside kick. Danny Kite, and it's Yancey Thigpen. Thigpen hauls it in and ends Peyton Manning's season. Eddie George and the Titans leave Indy with a victory. The artist formerly known as the Oilers had not won a divisional playoff game since 1979. All but 38 of George's 162 yards rushing arrived in the second half. Edgerrin James, meanwhile, rushed for only 56. Manning finished without a TD pass for the 3rd straight game. After the win, Tennessee's Jeff Fisher said, "This is a great feeling, but it can get better."
This was, of course, a team victory, probably one of the biggest victories in franchise history, and we realized that we still got a couple left. So we're going to come back to work, and we're eagerly awaiting the opportunity to go down to Jacksonville.
Never quite got that big play, kind of like was said earlier, and I think you need to have some big plays in these playoff games, and something we'll learn, and I believe we'll be back next year.
We'll continue to work and build, and we'll be back. I'm confident of that. We'll be back.
A lot of people just don't respect us. I think a lot of guys on the team just feel like, out there and play 60 minutes, you know, the game's not over until we finish, and we feel like we're the team of destiny.
There were an NFL record 4 teams with 13 wins during the regular season. The Titans were one of those teams. Regular season and playoffs combined.
The Freak is a nasty nickname, but Randy Moss shares it with Javon Curse. Rams linebacker London Fletcher nickname, all his. He gave it to himself after leading St. Louis with 138 tackles this year. .com, I'm online with the other team, Fletcher says. I'm in their playbook. Rams and Vikings playbooks both saturated with offense. 5 combined Pro Bowlers in the skill positions alone. First playoff home game in the city of St. Louis's 33-year history with the NFL. Chris Carter, 6 career playoff touchdown catches in 11 games. Rams down 3-zip. First play of the game. Them kids taking it to the house. Kurt Warner to Isaac Bruce. Peace. 77 yards. Isaac, 4 catches, $133. Asked why they went for the bomb early, said Bruce, setting the tone and then continue pounding. Rams second possession. 2nd and 6. Warner screen to Marshall Faulk. Faulk was off the meat rack. This is why he was the NFL's Offensive Player of the Year. This is why he had a record 2,429 yards from scrimmage. In this game, 16 touches, 101 yards. Second quarter, Vikings down 14-3. Jeff George getting his vibe on with Chris Carter back in the end zone. 22 yards for the touchdown. C-squared 7 catches, $111, 14-10 Rams. Later in the quarter, handoff to Faulk. See what happened. Faulk only fumbled twice all year. Vikings next possession, 2nd and 7. George to the Freak. Randy Moss. Look at the Jets. 9 catches, 188 yards receiving. Jeff George, 29 of 50, 424. It set up Leroy Hort, no doubt. True that. But Kurt Warner said, hey, they weren't stopping us. It was all the things we did wrong, and it was frustrating. Opening kickoff for the second half, Tony Horn, who returned 2 kickoffs for touchdowns during the season. 95 yards for the touch. Check this out. Before this year, there have only been 10 kickoff returns for touchdowns in postseason history. This year alone, there have been 4. 21-17 Rams after that. Later in the third, 28-17, Kurt Warner. I'm feeling you, Kurt. To Jeff Robinson. Warner, 391 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. 12 seconds up in the third, 1st and 10, they're on 26. Jeff George fumbles. George had 8 fumbles during the season. On the ensuing possession, Warner to Ryan Tucker, silk. Warner was all good. He completed 27 passes to 10 different receivers. Vikings would score 3 touchdowns late, but not nearly enough. They beat the Rams 49-37. All right, let's recap here. The Vikings led, Dan, and then the Rams scored 35 unanswered points, and for all intents and purposes, game was over. 49 points for the Rams, franchise playoff record. Warner's 391 yards, ditto. His 5 touchdown passes, ditto. Said a disbelieving Jimmy Hitchcock, who sees the Vikings offense every day in practice, quote, the Rams offense is the toughest I've ever faced. You have to be able to put the lights out, and we weren't. After the game, Vermeil gushed about his QB.
He's special. I've said that all along. He's special. From what I understand, he was 27 for 33. That's a pretty good day's work.
It feels great, but it's funny that, from about 3 or 4 games in this year, we expected ourselves to be here and we expected ourselves to be winning this game. So to us, this is just one step. We've got a long ways to go from what we feel we can accomplish.
Nothing that, I take from this game that's going to really have me moping around. I think I've got used to losing. I've got used to losing somewhat.
Really, today, I think, was a real, hopefully, we painted a glaring picture that we really don't have any obvious weaknesses.
An odd 20-year reunion. 3 of the 4 finalists from the 1979 season are finalists this year. Bucks, Rams, and the Oilers franchise, Titans. Kurt Warner was 8 years old then. And this one, his 27 for 33 5-touchdown day. Only Phil Simms and Joe Montana had higher completion percentages in a postseason game. Only Darryl LaMonica and Steve Young had more touchdown passes.
It was either the coach or the quarterback. One had to go because Jimmy Johnson and Dan Marino could no longer coexist for another season. Less than 24 hours after the most embarrassing defeat in franchise history, Johnson called it a career, turning the reins over to his assistant head coach, Dave Wanstead. Here's Hank Goldberg.
Well, this time it's final and forever, so I am retiring from coaching. It's my time. I've had my time in the sun. I've had my time in the spotlight. Now I want to have my time with my family. We gave it our best shot, and it didn't work out.
With that, the Jimmy Johnson era in Miami ended on the heels of an embarrassing 62-7 loss to Jacksonville. Yet, as he hands off to hand-picked successor Dave Wanstead, Johnson contends he's leaving a better foundation than the one he inherited.
I think we are in great shape as far as the salary cap. And even though some may scoff at me saying this, I really don't think that we're that far away.
I think we're close. I really believe we're close, or we wouldn't have played as well as we did the week before at Seattle.
As evident in the Jacksonville disaster, Wanstead's challenges are many. But one overriding immediate question was artfully dodged by Wanstead. What is Dan Marino's future?
Dan had a tough year because of some injuries and so forth. He struggled back at the end. Where the whole thing is right now, where his mindset's at, I really can't answer that. I mean, we just hold off on the Dan thing, and we'll talk in the next couple of weeks and keep you abreast.
I will stand behind the coach, whatever he wants to do. And I have never, even with Don or with Jimmy, they make all player decisions. I do not get involved in player decisions. However, Jimmy knew that Dan and I had a good relationship, and I'm sure that Jimmy would have come to me just like I would assume that Dave would come and say, hey, listen, I got to talk about making a tough decision here.
While the quarterback situation is up in the air, continuity was one of the overriding considerations in awarding the job to Wanstead. That doesn't mean that he will stand pat, as he's already begun making changes in his staff, releasing 3 of his offensive coaches, including offensive coordinator Kippy Brown. With the Dolphins, I'm Hank Goldberg, ESPN.
Thank you, Hammer. Wanstead signed a 3-year deal. Jimmy Johnson's 4 seasons with the Dolphins, if you compare those with Don Shula's last 4 years in South Florida, and you can see the franchise is no better off than when Johnson took over the team in 1996. Shula won 3 more regular season games, 2 more division titles, and as many playoff games as Johnson in those 4-year comparisons. A bit later in the program, Hank Goldberg has much more on what went wrong for Jimmy Johnson and a look at the future of the Dolphins with Dave Wanstead as head coach. He's our Sunday conversation. Let's go to Phoenix for the Suns and Nuggets and a big night for that man, Cliff Robinson. Cliff Robinson has the Suns up by 8 in the first quarter. Has the Suns up 23-14. After that, and the foul. Still in the first quarter, Robinson, dare I say, well, he has a son, and Fuego. He had 23. The Nuggets had